But yeah, if you guys didn't know, Proletariat had this job post. I think it's been up for like maybe 3 or 4 weeks now, maybe a little longer. Basically asking for a new position, but they're asking specifically people with people with experience with MMO or I believe open world games in the past. And I'm not saying like that's what Proletariat has plans for Spellbreak per se, is for Spellbreak to be an open world adventure game or even a MMO. But I did think it would be a cool way to start off the discussion of the whole like PVE Spellbreak, you know? Which is, and even during the early days of Spellbreak, there's always been a good chunk of people who've been asking for PVE of Spellbreak. Even Seth himself stated that the devs and players are kind of interested in that kind of game development and whatnot.
I think another mode that players have asked about a lot is a PvE mode. And from our experience, that would be really exciting. I know that a lot of us here love that style of game and really would love to build something like that. But I think there's some key pieces to consider in designing it. One is, how will the combat need to change to make it really satisfying for PvE? Because the core focus right now has been predominantly on PvP. The second is just all of the actual features and mechanics that would need to go into a PvE mode. It's just very different from PvP in terms of all of the AI and NPCs and all of the different components that really make those games tick.
I'm not really one of those people though who thinks like, oh, all Spellbreak needs to do is the embrace PvE and it will automatically return into its former glory days. My main issue is because usually when people say PvE of Spellbreak, that's all they say, right? Chapter 4 over Spellbreak PvE. Yeah, exactly. My issue is that people just say PvE Spellbreak, and I feel like that's not really saying much of anything if you really think about it. Because like PvE can range anywhere from like a single player campaign story like God of War to like a looter shooter like Destiny, or even a Monster Hunter like game like Dauntless, right? Just saying I want a PvE game it's just so crazy. Like no one's really specific on like what type of PvE game they want, because it's just an umbrella term. That's just like saying like, oh, I want PvP Spellbreak. Okay, does that mean you want Battle Royale, Arena? Do you want an RTS Spellbreak? Like PvP means a lot of things. Shoot, PvE can even mean like a trading card game of Spellbreak, right? So just saying PvE I just never really caught on to it per se, right? And when it comes to games as a live service, I feel like PvP live service games are better than PvE. But there's a few, like, I guess PvE live service games that aren't completely boring and whatnot. Later, boo. Like the bots in Spellbreak now, I can imagine boring PvE. Yeah, exactly. I think even in the little video, Seth talked about, like, if you... And I even made a Reddit post, too, talking about, like, if there was a PvE Spellbreak or a PvE mode of Spellbreak, there would need to be a lot of things changed. Because the combat in Spellbreak right now is geared towards PvP. PvE, you're going to have to change a lot of things to make it like a very engaging experience, per se, in my opinion. Let's say Proletariat decides to do a PvE game, right? Probably it would be easier to do a single story campaign mode, in my opinion, just because the expectations of those is a little bit less, where people usually play campaign video games, like adventure video games, like once or twice, and they feel satisfied with their purpose, right? Even though those once and twice takes maybe like anywhere from 10 to 24 hours of playtime to complete, right? And people feel satisfied, kind of thing, with those kind of like single story campaigns. But if you do something like a Monster Hunter game, that's a little bit more difficult and like kind of worrisome, because those games required a lot of good engaging content and combat, right? And if you know anything about Spellbreak BR, that was one of the downfalls of Spellbreak, was the whole engaging content thing, right? Oh, it's a party over here. Oh, it is a party. Mistakes were made here. It is a party. Oh, you got spring step too. That's cool. All right, who is shooting fireballs at me, being just a nuisance? All right, let me go back and heal up a little bit. I was just chasing somebody that was just chipping off HP out the wazoo. I even forgot what I was saying. I was just saying something about live service PvE games. Yeah, those are a lot harder because like that was one of the downfalls of Spellbreak as a BR was creating engaging content. And maybe Proletariat has hired people to help them solve that issue. But that's something that kind of worries me, saying and a lot of people have this expectation thinking that Spellbreak PvE will be like the de facto game mode that everyone's going to want to enjoy per se. Like the game mode that will save quote unquote Spellbreak. And it's just one of those things that you got to just see it to believe it per se, right? Because I really just can't imagine a very engaging PvE Spellbreak unless they change the game drastically. Even Seth said it himself, like they were going to have to change some mechanics of Spellbreak to make it engaging if they want to do PvE. But yeah, like I was talking about the story, like even the story for Spellbreak BR was kind of underwhelming. It was very slow. I wouldn't say it was bad. It just felt very slow. It didn't really get good until the end of chapter 2. Towards the end of chapter 2 is when things really got spicy. Dang, look at all this loot, guys. It's like Christmas. You could tell there was some fighting over here. We missed out something crazy. Oh, something crazy was going down on here, right? And that's when they really got it. They got good with their lore around the end of chapter 2, basically. But I'm not gonna be all doom and gloom with the whole idea of PvE Spellbreak because it could work. There's some positives, right? PvE Spellbreak will allow the devs to be a little bit more creative because they won't be shackled by the whole PvE with the whole like balancing thing that comes with PvE. That man scared the bejeebus out of me.
Get moving, Breaker. The spellstorm's coming.
That was fun. Oh, almost fell in the fracture there. What? Oh, you deads. Oh my goodness, we're both with Zillas out here. Oh my goodness. I feel like I had to get that guy out the way just because he had like the beta forebearer skin. I was like, oh, this guy has to be cracked. Death by Bunny 16. Imagine dying by bunnies. That's like a big ReZero reference. It has to be a ReZero reference, right? Damn, I played second with 5 exiles. Huh, don't worry. You'll get the hang of it. But yeah, like I was saying, it's possible for a Spellbreak PvE to be engaging, right? Like there's a few PvE games like Kingdom Hearts. I really enjoyed Kingdom Hearts, and that was a solo campaign. I also enjoyed God of War as well. Later. Alright. And then also the Pokemon games. Basically, almost any Pokemon game that came out in the past, I really enjoyed it. So like they could have like even a narrative where we're fighting magical creatures or even evil breakers who are corrupted by the fracture, by the storm, and the only way for us to purify them is to fight them. And we can collect magical creatures. That's one way of winning, I guess. And I wouldn't mind a Monster Hunter game, but again, it has to be engaging content and whatnot. But yeah, you guys let me know how you guys feel about the idea of PvE Spellbreak. And don't just say, oh, I would love PvE Spellbreak. What would you specifically want? What version of PvE? Would you want like a solo campaign adventure game, or would you want like a monster hunting dungeon fighter game? Me personally, I feel like most people would love a MMO Spellbreak. The only problem is MMOs take a lot of time, effort, and resources. And unless Proletariat's been working on an MMO game all the way back during like beta, that junk won't be releasing anytime soon. But the main reason why I like the idea of an MMO Spellbreak is because you can have both PvP and PvP and PvE aspects of a game. But most MMOs, at least the successful ones, most of the successful ones focus more on PvE, and then PvP is just like in the back burner. But I think a Spellbreak MMO would probably be like the icing on the top. I wouldn't mind it, especially with the core combat being as great as it is in Spellbreak, in my opinion. BR, that is. And make sure you guys stay safe. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.